Well, good evening, Mountaineer Nation. It's Friday night. I've not been on here on Friday night in a very long time. Shane, I don't think you've ever been on here Friday night with me, have you?
I don't know, maybe once. I'm trying to think. I can't recall.
Yeah, I don't remember. Anyway, tonight we've got a great guest coming in. Be here probably about 8:30 or so. Mike Osty. So everybody he's from West Virginia Sports Now. You might have heard his voice in a lot of press conferences asking questions, and you might be like, "Who is that guy?" I hear that voice all the time, but I don't know who that is. Well, you'll hear that voice tonight. He'll be in here with us. So Shane,
Yep, you'll
have you been
you'll
keeping up with
recognize them
this?
when you hear them. That's for sure.
Have you been keeping up with this transfer portal craziness today?
Oh, it's just I'm hoping the bumpers come on and are finally put onto this monster because it's great for players, it's terrible for fans, and I don't think it's good for the sport. But it's great for
I
the
agree.
players.
Yeah, it's not good for the sport. All this transfers, and players just they go to a school and then they get in the buffet line. They're like, "Well, they don't have no packs of ketchup. I wanted packs of ketchup. I'm going to Temple."
Yep,
And
they
then
have
they,
Hunt. They don't have Hines. I'm
yeah,
going back to.
yeah, going back to Tulane. So, I mean, it's crazy. I don't understand it. What is the most I've heard of, I think, was 5 transfers, right? I think there's been somebody that's transferred 5 times. Somebody got
Yeah,
there and, like, spent 2 weeks and transferred again the other day.
that's
Got through
crazy. I
got through a
mean,
school. I don't know where it was, but
there are some good news. Like popped in my feed. There was a D2 basketball standout that transferred into Colorado. The guy is a shooter, and good for that kid. But once again, Colorado has more kids going out than coming in. They did get another one in, but they had two out. And I know I went to school in West Virginia, and I count with my shoes off, but that math does not still work, even if I use West Virginia math, guys. So
Mike Osty actually tweeted out today that West Virginia, the View, is looking at Marshall transfer quarterback that's generating recent buzz. I don't know his name. Let me click on this and see what his name is. Well, that didn't tell me nothing. Let me open this one up, see what his name is. What is his name? Anybody know?
I'm looking. I'm looking.
I'm looking for it here. Marshall cornerback Dione Hill.
Yeah, let's look him up.
He has a visit with West Virginia on Zach. Um, so he's a Marshall transfer.
Mhm.
He's generating some buzz, according to Mike Osty. We'll ask him about that when he gets in here. See what's being said up there in Morgantown.
6 foot 172, and talking about 6 foot 172, which is about what I should be. Uh, it seems like every cat that DeVries is recruiting or has brought in has been a small shooting guard, frame.
Yeah.
Like no long lean guys. He's getting these little guys. I mean, where's the 6'3", 6'5" guys with some wingspan? I mean,
Well,
I don't mean to change directions, but when I saw Johnny Hill, he's 6 foot 172. I'm like, oh, that's
Devon
about
Hill.
Devon. Yeah, the Johnny Hill. That's what DeVries is recruiting. 6 footers, not 6'5" guys.
Well, now let me ask you this: how come Rodney Gallagher is not being hit up to come and play basketball? You know,
I don't know. I
he
don't
was
know.
he was a 5-star basketball recruit, wasn't he?
He was.
And
Yeah.
and chose football instead. But I mean, you got him right there in Morgantown. We need help on that basketball team. You got a
They're
5-star
just
talent
they're
right
just
there.
they're just not coming in as fast as we can.
So
And
we're
I
down to what? We're down to 3 scholarship players because I think another one hit the portal today.
right.
We were down to 4 yesterday, so I think we're down to 3 scholarship players now on the basketball team. Yeah, we got a
Yeah, but
5-star talent sitting there in Morgantown. We might want to hit him up.
yeah, I mean, here's the thing though. I think he needs certain position players. I don't know. I mean, is this going to be another trust to climb type of deal with basketball, Joey?
Yeah, probably. I'd say it is. So I'm wondering something because he said he was going to build it right. He wasn't going to build it fast. He was
Yeah,
going
I
to.
understand it. He wants kids in that aren't going to cause poison the well, I guess you could say.
Right. So I think he'll do a really good job of building a good program up there again.
No
Now,
doubt. I'm just nervous.
now I've never met him. I don't know him. I look forward to one day meeting him and stuff. I'm sure Mike Osty's met him by now, so we can ask Mike about him when he comes in here. But yeah, so did you also see Rodney Gallagher? They're going to play him on defense. It looks like. So Neil
Yes.
Brown in his press conference said that they've been sneaking him in there, looking at him a little bit as a cornerback.
Yeah, I think they're going to use him in like a nickel package. They're seeing they said he has great lateral speed, which of course he's running back. And I understand the logic. And the logic is this, Joey. You get these guys, use them. The days of redshirting guys and saving them because you have a stable is you play the talent you have, and you're not saving these guys anymore. That's just the nature of the beast. Because guess what? That kid can pack his bags. He could go move on to greener pastures if he's not getting playing time. So might as well put the pads on and strap him up and have him line up on the defensive end if he's not going to get as many reps in the offense. So.
Yep. I agree. I've got to.
But he was. They had him take freshman year. He was taking some reps as a receiver. High school, he was a quarterback. So I don't think the only thing he hasn't done is pass out water, Joey.
So Traylon Ray says he feels he's a better player now because he feels his body is better and he's not scared to take a hit. That was tweeted out today. I don't remember who tweeted that. I just copied and pasted that from my notes. But WU wide receiver Traylon Ray says he feels like he's a better player now. So,
well, you would hope so with the coaching, the facilities, the nutritionists. They have those little straps that test how much you sleep, how much you rest, and all that. Basically, it's like a walking CPAP that checks your vitals as you poop and eat and blink and breathe.
Yeah, I mean, I think without a doubt we've probably got the best strength and conditioning coach in the country, Mike Joseph up there. I think he does a tremendous job with those guys. You ever, you get around those guys when they first get there as freshmen, right? Because you went there, so you know this. You get around them when they first get there as freshmen.
I live with some guys,
and you think, okay, they look like football players. They look like football players. But then after 1 year of development there, just 1 year, and you see him again, you're like, holy shit, man. Now he really looks like a football player.
You go from like athlete to grown-ass man athlete. I mean, it's like Comic-Con Hulk or like Lou Ferrigno Hulk. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm sitting there wondering, what are they feeding these guys, man?
Yeah, and they have those tables. I remember the basketball players used to go out to different places to eat, and there was this one sports bar down towards Star City that's no longer there, but they would take them down there and feed their face and go to Pargo's and all these other places that are no longer in Morgantown. But they had a meal plan and had like a card they could use, like a punch card in the early 90s. But hey, Tim Green. Oh yeah, baseball. Joey. West Virginia. Let's talk about baseball real quick. Tim proud of them.
They're good. Yeah, I'm proud of them. They're really good.
So let's talk about Ren Baker picking not only a great soccer coach when in his first year just basically took West Virginia to a national championship, but he has hired a baseball coach, hasn't he?
I don't think he's hired a replacement yet.
No, he hasn't. You're right. I'm looking it up here and make sure because I'm not a huge baseball fan, but I can appreciate the fact that they whooped up on Pitt. They have a fantastic field up there on the hill.
Yeah.
Now, they're headed next to Texas Tech, but let's see today
But if
exactly
they
what
if
the
they
score
won
was.
today, they won today. They beat
hmm
Pittsburgh. They swept UCF. So
hmm
what are they on?
hmm
They're on like a 7 game winning streak right now or so.
Well, let me see here. The 16th they won, 17th they lost, 19th of February they lost, then they won, lost, won, won. They go on tears. They'll lose 2 and then win 4, and then that seems to be this. But they're shoot guys. They split against Oklahoma State in Morgantown, and then Kansas. They swept Kansas, guys. They lost to Marshall. They beat UCF. They swept them in 3 games, and they whooped Pitt 6-3. Today they play Texas. They're playing Texas Tech currently as we speak in Lubbock. So they're going to be playing out there in Texas, in Lubbock for the next 3 days. And it's going to be on ESPN Plus, ladies and gentlemen. So if you have
Oh,
ESPN Plus or Hulu, you can watch that. Then they come back
hey,
to
wait a
University
minute, Shane.
Park.
He was talking about. So let me put this up here real quick. He was talking about the mock football game today. We watched right here on his
Oh,
channel that was uploaded between West Virginia and Kansas. West Virginia won. I mean, 30. What was the final score? 34-10. Timothy.
really?
Yeah, they has West Virginia beating Kansas.
So who did the mock football game? Let me.
SG1 Sports.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
that
they
sounds
team up
fun.
with the network here. They team up with boys college football,
Oh, I see that.
and
SG1
they
Sports.
upload mock games. Yeah,
Do you think it's going to get to the point, Joe, where they're not going to strap on a helmet? They're just going to have mock games?
it
Every kid
might
has
get
an
to that, and
avatar.
then it's going to be like who can play the best, and you hire them to control that one player. And then like you hire a head coach and you pay him millions
Mm-hmm.
of years to tell
Yeah,
these players what to do.
because
Could you
gamers are
see it? That could
making
be a huge
crazy
sport.
money. Yeah, gamers are making lots of money. It's just crazy. But back to De'Anni Hill. I mean, he's a defensive back, but I'm trying to think of the quarterback. I mean, weren't they looking at a quarterback from Marshall? No, or was it a defensive back? Yeah, it was a defensive back. My bad. But guys,
No.
I'll tell you what, it's just it boggles my mind that half of me thinks that it'll be better for West Virginia as a whole to go into a super conference, and the better half of me, the casual fan, the super fan wants the super conference. Okay, but the casual fan likes that. I get to see USC play, you know, some random school from the East Coast. You know what I mean? I think it generates more money, the latter, and that's why we won't have a super conference. What do you think, Joey? I mean, I just, you know,
I don't like the idea of the super conference at all.
no,
I just don't feel like that would do anything or go anywhere. I like the like
not even if
three
you had
super
Pitt,
conferences or even four. I like
not
three
even if
super
Pitt, West
conferences.
Virginia, and Syracuse in the same conference.
Well, yeah, that would be okay. That would be okay. But the problem is that's never going to happen. SEC and Big
No,
Ten aren't
no,
going
I
to go for
know,
this.
I know, I
It's just
know.
not going to happen. So I mean, it's just a dream scenario. But it would be
Yeah,
nice. But I still feel like there's more of a chance of us getting Pitt into the Big 12 than that ever happening.
yeah, and I think that as they continue to, if they have a crap season this year, it's going to become less likely, as because I just don't know. They have to have a decent season in order to, because Duke's had a reasonably good past couple years. Okay. And I was looking at what we were looking at before the show was that I forget the acronym, but it was basically where all the Department of Education collects the data on the
Oh yeah,
universities or public
he
public
must.
trust. And
He might have that pulled up in
we're
here.
looking at the numbers, and Locked On Big 12 was talking about it too. Out there, their Big 12 show. fantastic. But I was looking at that website and playing around today, and Duke does bring in some money. I was poo-pooing them in all of our Big 12 shows that Big 12 doesn't want them, but if they're actually generating that type of revenue versus what their expenditures are, it would be a good for the Big 12. Because
it'd be good for the Big 12 in basketball. Obviously, getting Duke and
Louisville.
Maybe Louisville in here. That'd be great. So there's just so many. There's so many scenarios that can happen that I think you could. I think you could set like Golden Blue used to do, and just set and make videos about it on a constant basis about different scenarios. Because really, right now, I could see. Here's a scenario I could see happening. 2026, they say ESPN can come in and talk about that contract with the ACC, right? They can drop it if they want to or whatever. I could see the ESPN coming into the ACC and saying, you know what? Florida State hasn't gotten out of here yet. Neither has Clemson. Let's help this conference out. Hey, if you guys will grow and invite West Virginia and Oklahoma State over here into the ACC, we could pay y'all a lot more money, because all of a sudden you'll have your viewership's going to go up tremendously. And, hey, I could see something like that happening even. But I don't. I mean, I could see a lot of different scenarios. I just don't know what's going to happen.
So, Joey, I asked AI what the Big 12 would look like in 2028 based on expansion. So it's right now I have to turn one thing off to make that work. So just bear with me.
Okay.
And we'll see what it says. Okay, here we go. It's generating, so it's thinking. Okay, it's thinking.
Now it's going to take it a minute because AI is a little slow.
Okay, you ready? Well, it's just because I have VPN hooked up for security reasons.
Okay.
So, okay, I'm going to read it to you. Ready? Are you guys ready? West Virginia fans. Okay, here we go. Okay, so the Big 12 has unveiled a 16-team conference. Okay, here we go. The Big 12 is expected to undergo significant changes by 2028 due to expansion. Currently, there's 16-team conference, unveiled 16 teams in 2027. So the new additions have proved to be great value to the Big 12: Utah, Arizona State, Colorado, Arizona, BYU. Future plans are not yet available. So it basically petered out and didn't give me shit.
Yeah, I didn't tell you. Huh? Yeah. Yep.
Man,
that's how
I was excited.
So, we were talking about doing AI Monday, and I thought today, well, wonder what AI is going to predict for TCU this year. So I got into my AI, and I asked it, what will, TCU do 2024? And it let it play out a scenario. And it went through the whole schedule, but it never did say whether or not they was going to win or lose any game, and it didn't give a final thing. So I'm going to have to go back and make that an actual command that it has to give me a final ranking.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm asking one more question here and see what happens. Okay.
So if you're just tuning in, Mike Osteen will be with us here in just a little bit. He's running a little bit late tonight. He had called me earlier today and said it might be about 8:30 before he gets here. But Mike Osteen will be here with us, so just stay with us. All right, what'd you ask us this time?
I asked it, so what ACC teams would be the best fit for the Big 12? It told me that Virginia, North Carolina, Florida State, and Clemson are actively pursuing an exit strategy, okay? However, Louisville, NC State, Pitt, and Virginia Tech would be a good fit for the Big 12, along with Miami.
He sounds like us.
It
Yeah,
said
it sounds exactly like us.
the ACC, the Big 12 could consider Miami and Georgia Tech also. So, those are the most likely: the Louisville, NC State, Pitt, Virginia Tech, Miami, and Georgia Tech. Any of those would be, other than maybe Georgia Tech, but I don't
So
know.
Timothy Green telling us the score of the Texas Tech 2, West Virginia nothing, bottom of the third.
Uh-oh, that's not
Come on,
good.
Mountaineers. Let's go, Mountaineers. So that
Tim,
game on
I don't
ESPN
know.
Plus? That game's on ESPN
Yeah,
Plus, you
it's
say?
on ESPN Plus. So I want to know, Joey, we just finished, what was it, the third year where men's basketball has been on ESPN Plus. What are your thoughts?
Well, I don't care. I mean, I don't subscribe to ESPN Plus, but I do get to
Yeah.
watch ESPN Plus,
Yeah.
thanks to a friend. And
Yeah.
so I don't have to pay for it, but at the same time, I feel bad for anybody that does have to pay to maybe watch, a couple of games a year, and you got to pay for that because it's not cheap. I mean, I guess it is in the grand scheme of things, but it's still,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, if you have Hulu and Disney, it comes with it. But I mean, if you don't want to have Hulu and Hulu, Hulu Plus and pay for Hulu, and you had to pay for it outright, it's just, I don't think the value is quite there. I know Disney's reworking what their streaming service is doing because it's not making any money, but I don't know. It's a head scratcher. I don't know how much value is there for West Virginia fans that don't have decent internet. I mean, are we losing a fan base? Or do younger kids just don't care? They just want to go to school, party, and be a casual fan.
yeah, I don't know. I tell you, well, we still have the largest social media following of any fan base.
That's true.
West
That's
Virginia
true.
does. So something's working. Something's
Guess what
working.
just popped into my feed? Just
What?
popped in as an ad. Rodney Gallagher all gold men's jersey, $75. Pretty nice looking jersey, all gold.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So it heard us talking about it. The computer heard that. All the little internet gremlins that go and they pick your information and they they try to predict the future for you. So, but I don't know, Joey.
I wanted.
Go ahead.
I was just going to tell you that I spoke with Eugene Napoleon today. So
what do you have to say?
Well, his wife, Naya, she had a record here, I guess about 2 years ago, called 304, that she wrote about West Virginia, and they did a video on it, shot it at Mountaineer Field. So I talked to you today and told him I'd like to have the rights to that video and things so I can play it on the channel before our shows and stuff.
Yeah.
And so he gave me the right to do that, and I didn't get to do it.
Fantastic.
I didn't get to do it tonight, but I look forward to starting that up next week, so we get to watch the video of 304. Shows Eugene Napoleon out on the field in his jersey, running around football. His wife sings the song. It's really a great song. So we'll have that next week for everybody.
Yeah, that's great. I'm excited to hear it again.
Sorry, I hit the wrong one. Todd says it's all about the money. Talking about that.
Oh yeah, Todd, it is. Todd, it is.
Hulu Plus, so it's definitely worth it. Yeah, the thing about it is, you cut the cable, right? You turn the cable off. Then the next thing you know, you're paying as much for all these different streaming services as you was cable.
Yeah, it creeps. What I do is I'll have what I just turn off. I'll have Apple TV for 6 weeks a month, and I'll turn it off. And then 8 months later, I'll turn it on for a month because there might be something I want to watch. That's kind of what I do. The Hulu is the one thing I pay for all the time. Amazon Prime we have because my wife buys stuff through Amazon, so we get it for free. Not free, but we pay for the service to have stuff delivered. And then Netflix is another one that I'll turn off for 3 months and turn it back on for 6. So, but if you don't keep track of it, my goodness.
Yeah, it's like I'm sitting there figuring it up in my head right now because I pay $18 for Netflix. I play, I think, 14 for Hulu.
Hmm.
Pay 21, I think, for it is for YouTube Premium, like the family package thing, so I can do it on
Hmm.
everything. If you
I
figure
don't
those
have
three up
YouTube.
right there, you're
YouTube.
almost
Yeah.
$60. You're almost
Yeah, I don't
$60.
have YouTube. That's the one I don't have. But and I think there's a PlayStation Plus subscription that my son has. So that's I don't think that's too bad. Now I have business internet because I use it for work, but
Right.
then that's a pretty big cost. But I write that off on my taxes. But son of a gun, guys, it creeps up. I had DirecTV, Joey, for years and years, and I cut the cord probably 7 years ago, but it was up near goodness, it was up near $150, $160 a month.
So last night it was a great show. I tell you, you got to go back and watch it. And if you're in the chat and didn't get to watch it, go back and watch it. On the Voice of College Football, he had
Hmm.
Tony Altimore on there, and he had all kinds of crafts,
Hmm.
um, talking about TV viewership, where everybody ranks, how high
Hmm.
everybody is, how low everybody is, who watches the team versus who wins and stuff. So he had all the graphs lined out. It was really a great show. So everybody go over and watch that. And right now coming in because I just now looked down there. I don't know how long it's been down there, but I just now seen Mike in the back room. So Mike also is managing editor for West Virginia Sports Now, and like I had told everybody earlier, if you listen to West Virginia press conferences, you sometimes hear somebody ask a question, and you might wonder,
Hmm.
I know that voice from somewhere, but that voice is coming in here right now. Mike Ossie, hi Mike, how you doing tonight, buddy?
Good. How are you guys?
We're
Doing
doing
great,
good,
doing great.
Mike. Good to talk to you.
Yeah, man. How are you?
I'm good. I'm just trying to, I mean, I get caught up and spun up in these rabbit holes and go down in them on this college football realignment
Yeah.
talk, and it's just I'm chasing my tail. But I'm addicted to it. I'm sorry. I've been talking about it since January and can't
So
help
Mike, I
myself.
want to
It's
ask
it's
you.
a deep rabbit hole. Yeah, we could all go down there for hours for sure.
I
Hmm.
wanted to
Yeah.
ask you about some recruiting news because
Sure.
I know so we've had a couple of players at the transfer portal today, and we was after that wide receiver out of Penn State, but I don't think we're in the
Right.
running for that anymore. Am I correct?
There were several teams that were involved. I kind of always thought it was a long shot situation, but that would have been a major steal for Neil Brown. I mean, to even kind of be in the mix there, I think is a big deal. But yeah, I never thought that was really going to happen. The interesting thing, actually, Neil Brown talked about a month ago at the open of spring practice that any transfer they would get from this point on would be a quote unquote luxury, which is different than any of the past several years where they were still trying to get pieces they
Hmm.
needed for the roster. And even if they don't get KLS from Penn State, they had Jaden Bray out of Oklahoma State. So they already have a veteran receiver that they've already added to this roster that has Big 12 championship game experience already to this young core. So receiver wise, unless all the young players take a dip, if they do take a step forward, you have Bray there and his strength is just incredible. He's he's like an incredible Hulk out there on the field. They should take a step forward in the receiver room, even if they don't add anything else. But yeah, he was the only real receiver they've been looking at, and that doesn't appear to be happening. They have thrown a lot of offers to defensive backs. There have been some to linebackers, some to offensive linemen, some D linemen. Those are just pieces and players they'd love to have as extra depth chart players.
Hmm.
But receiver was kind of an interesting position for them to throw an offer at a major veteran after they already got one. It almost seemed like they were looking to, okay, if we get him, we'll figure something out and add another veteran to the group. But I don't know if that would necessarily a necessity. Just today, Traylon Ray talked about his goal for the year is 1,000 yards. There's only so many yards to get for a run first team if they keep adding more on the field.
Right, right. So run first team, we hear about CJ Donaldson. I know you're up there a lot,
Right.
so I know you're probably around CJ quite a bit. Seems
Yeah.
to be from word from Neil Brown is that he could play today, but still watching how he practices, I guess, right now.
Yeah, so he opened up spring limited, but really out, didn't do all that much. We've seen him a little bit, But unfortunately for CJ Donaldson, this is now the second straight year he's recovering from an injury, having to go into spring trying to recuperate from the injury, likely going to be fine going into fall camp and should come out of this fine. But I was a little critical of him last year. I know some of the fans didn't like it. He emerged in 2022 in the backyard brawl and was a beast and was a great player that year, even though the team didn't do well. And last year, he had a good year. The numbers are good, but it's hard to say he lived up to the hype. He didn't even leave the season the best running back on the team. Jaheim White ended up emerging, and CJ had a streak there that was, kind of sluggish. He averaged 3-point yards, 2.8 yards, and 3.2 yards a game in 3 straight weeks. I know the defense everyone gives, the defense was going after him. They were scheming for him. They would stack the box against him because of what he did the year before. That's all true, and it's a legit excuse. Jaheim didn't have to deal with that as much. But if you're going to be an elite running back and take a step forward as one of the best backs in the country, and you think you're going to the NFL, and you're this beast that everyone talked about, even though you hadn't played running back before 2022 at all in your career, you got to figure something out. And he had that slump, so trying to really recuperate and get going again this year, but we haven't really been able to see that from him on the practice field or in scrimmages during the spring at all, because he's still recovering from the injury and from a surgery. He missed the bowl game because of the injury, so he had a surgery in the offseason.
Right. So, going into the spring game, have you gotten a sense from Neil Brown about what he's going to be looking at mainly in the spring game, or if there's anything that he's going to take out of the spring game? I mean, I know most of the time they just run some plays, but there's got to be something that the head coach is looking for. Maybe the offensive line, or maybe wide receivers, breaks, or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's different than the last couple of years as well, because the last couple of years, and certainly last year, they were in the middle of a deep quarterback battle. Going into spring last year and even into the fall camp, he was publicly saying he did not know who was going to start between Garrett Green and Nico Marchiol, and even the year before with JT and Garrett. We all figured you bring in a veteran, JT was going to start, and even last year, we all kind of, at least most of us, at least thought Garrett had the edge. But publicly, he was looking at that quarterback battle, number one. This year, it's the Garrett Green show. Nico's improved. He's good. He's had experience from last year. They didn't move the ball much with him in there. You figure if he gets in, they would be better off offensively with him now. He looks better in practice. But Garrett Green's the starter. Position battle-wise, they're looking to kind of figure out the rest of the offensive line. Brandon Yates is going to be the center for Frazier, but exactly where does the rest of the players fit in terms of tackle, guard, etc. That's still up in the air. They could move those pieces around. They have versatile players there. And then I would say another position they're really looking for to see if other players emerge besides Ben Cutter and even a veteran transfer they brought over in Reed Carrico is linebacker. That's been the weakest position for West Virginia, whether they've been a good team or a bad team, for probably at least 5 or 6, 7 years. It's been a while since any individual as a linebacker has won any award of note. And Brown has said this is the deepest linebacker room he's had since walking in the door in Morgantown in 2019. And Ben Cutter gained experience last year, even though it was experience that Jordan Leslie, the D coordinator, even admitted last year he was grading him on a curve because it wasn't fair to make him be the Mike linebacker, basically be like a Ray Lewis out there calling plays as a freshman. That was insane because of all the injuries. Lee Copa's out of there. He's not there anymore. Trey Lathan is coming back off an injury. He was carted off the field, broke his leg in that game last year at TCU. Looking to see how he does, but Carrico being there. So that group in particular, to see how they've gelled and really how good they are, is something that I know he's looking at. O-line, D-line, secondary, always looking at all of that. Receiver, the chemistry between the receivers and Green. But there's not exactly a, we are looking at this in particular mainly like the quarterback battle the last couple of years for the spring game. And obviously they want to get out of that without any injuries. I don't, in terms of storylines out of that game, I don't think it's going to be the same as it was the last couple of years on who's the better QB to emerge that everyone can pick out nationally. But there are things to look at, and then, we'll see if there's any pieces that are added to this team or how this team then looks going into the fall. And one thing also to note, especially all of us that follow the whole college landscape, they're doing a spring game relatively late. Most
Yeah.
teams
Right.
have already done their spring game. They're still a week away from their spring game, and they're actually going to do their spring game inconveniently to some of the alums. Normally, you have alums come back, draft the team. Dante Stills did it last year, but they're doing it on NFL draft weekend. I mean, Frazier's going to already be gone off the board, but Beanie Bishop, Doug Nestor, if they're taken Saturday, then they're taken during the spring game. So as inconvenient as that is for all of us in media trying to cover that as well. So
Yeah.
they had to do, they said they did this on purpose because they had a lot of hamstring issues last year. Not all that were even released to everybody, but a lot of hamstring tightness. And Brown was honest that he needed an extra week off because he was mentally drained from everyone that was kind of on his behind last year, but it forced them into being behind spring wise. It'll be fine. They're going to have time off before fall, but it's an annoyance, and it kind of is funny to be talking about the spring game a week away when most of my colleagues have covered a spring game already, and most are already in the books.
Mike,
Yeah.
is it because, I mean, this might be a small,
Yeah.
I doubt they did this for a reason, but is it because of the transfer portal? They wanted to kind of move it to the right a little bit.
So they're not going to admit that. And when you ask Neil, he gives the answers that I'm talking about of the hamstring tightness, and they didn't want to go against the draft, but that wasn't going to be a concern for the team. That's something that they will say. It was hamstring tightness, and he needed a break. In all reality, I wouldn't be surprised if that plays into it at all. If you've noticed, the pieces they've lost are players that we all reported have been off the team for months. There have not been any exits, any surprises, any breaking news. No one's screwing over the WVU program. Like, say, my colleagues that cover Pitt in Pittsburgh, they're having players, Hayes, just walking out the door right after the spring game. Like, they're getting screwed. That's not happening to WVU. And you could argue it's harder because if you're a player that's not sure whether or not you're going to start or your playing time or what situation is at WVU, you're not going to have the coach tell you that until after the spring game. So,
and you can talk the kid down a little bit, and he won't make a rash decision. I mean, I think it's,
it could be manipulating it, but I will say, Shane, the only way this could bite you, I believe in the timetable. So the window's open 15 days. Spring game's going to be April 27th. I believe the window's going to still be open until Monday, morning. So it could bite you in the butt that after that spring game, if kids have a mass exodus, you have no time to talk them down. We barely have time to cover it. You are then kind of screwed if it does occur. They will have time as players to leave after the spring game, but it certainly makes it harder. And you wonder if it makes it harder on the assistant coaches who do most of the recruiting work.
I think it makes it harder on the kid leaving because there's already spots being filled.
It's harder to find a new team. It's hard to find a new team.
I think that, I don't know. I'm a glass half empty type of guy when it comes to that type of thing. So I'm thinking that's why he did it. But,
could be. Maybe
I got bad news. Guys. Texas Tech 6, West Virginia nothing, top of the fourth.
Okay. You're talking about baseball. Yeah. I thought you were about to break some news of a player entering the portal here.
Oh no,
I thought that's what you were doing, Joey. You scared me.
Now that would be horrible news. That would be.
So how are you going to suck that egg of covering the Steelers draft and West Virginia spring game, Mike?
Well, I mean, it's going to be hard. And not only, I do cover the Steelers, who players they're going to be taking. I have colleagues doing that more in a beat, so I don't have to worry about it as much. But then, then even depending on where these players go, I mean, if a West Virginia alum gets drafted, I'm going to be covering that. So I have more than myself on the site, fortunately. So Ethan Bach, who's kind of my number 2 right-hand man of the site, he's going to be helping me out at home while I'm at the spring game. So it's going to be rough. It's not convenient at all. Pull the curtain back. I sometimes get things pre-written that if I think is going to happen or get half of the words in there of their careers, but it will not be easy. And generally speaking, again, the West Virginia program is so much on a family atmosphere. Usually you have those players come back, be part of the spring game, and then the week after that, they maybe get drafted or have their pro career. So they're going to lose that moment as well for them. It's a weird timing for them to do it this way. They usually do the spring game this weekend, even if it's still a week later than most other schools. I know it's usually a week after Pitt's spring game. It's going to be 2 weeks after that this year. It won't matter in the grand scheme of the fall. It's an annoyance for us in media, but it is different for coaches. And you may be right. He won't answer this way. Maybe they were trying to manipulate the portal. Because even if kids want to leave, they're not going to have money. It's going to be hard. Most of those schools that they maybe want to go to are going to already have spots taken. They're not going to maybe want to go down a level. It will be more difficult on them, even though they'll have time. So it could be that Neil was trying to make it harder on anybody leaving. But I will say, this is not like what the program experienced a couple years ago when they did have a mass exodus. The vibes are good. They're coming off a 9-win season. Just being around practice, the vibes are good. Everyone's having fun. There's not as tough of position battles. There's not a QB battle, even though there's different pieces and different positions that they're battling for. So the vibes are really, really good. It's a good vibe situation around the program right now, regardless of when they had the portal open or when they did the spring game in practice. I don't think there would have been a mass exodus. I just don't.
No. I think they left. The kids already left. They were going to leave.
Yeah.
So switching gears, Mike, I mean, Zach Frazier, okay, he's been just the epitome of what we want every Mountaineer to be, just all around great guy. And now I'm on a Steelers show once a week, and all we talk about is what the draft is going to look like. And I'm thinking Zach is a second round guy, but I've seen some, I've seen him up in the first round in a couple mock drafts. What are your thoughts? Is Zach Frazier going to be a Steeler?
So I can certainly confirm, and it's not a secret. You don't even need me to confirm this. The Steelers are in love with him. They've been in love with him. And the Steelers, as you know, they do tip their hand a little bit. People try to read what teams are going to do, but in the last several years, and Omar Khan's now in charge, it's not Kevin Colbert, but he's been there. Generally speaking, everybody knows what they're going to do. Everyone knew they were in love with Kenny Pickett when they took him as the only QB in that first round. Everybody knew they were in love with Najee Harris. Everyone knew they were in love with Joey Porter Jr., even though he ended up being a second-round pick because he fell to them. People know what they're going to do. They're one of the easier teams to read what they're going to do. They are in love with Frazier. On most boards, most draft experts that I talk to have Frazier as the second best center in the draft behind Powers Johnson. And generally speaking, center is a position that goes late first round at the earliest.
Right.
So if you're the second best center on a board, you're looking like normally early second round. I do believe that if the Steelers love Frazier enough, they would have to make two decisions. Do they actually pull the trigger in the first round and make him their guy at pick 20, which would probably be high for him? And maybe Powers Johnson's already gone. If he's still there, they probably take him. But they're really in love with Frazier. Maybe they take Frazier over Powers Johnson because there are people that say Frazier is more bust-proof, meaning maybe he's not going to go to Canton someday, but there's no way he's going to be a failure. There's even small things people think Powers Johnson could fail on, whereas Frazier is bust-proof. That's what everyone says. So maybe they take him there. The other option is they don't take him there. They take another position, secondary, D-line, even receiver, different positions they need now, obviously. They let someone else take Powers Johnson. He'll definitely be gone at that point. And they work another trade and try to get into the late first round or early second round, because one thing I can guarantee, they can't sit at pick 51 of the second round and get Zach Frazier.
He's going to be gone. He's going to be gone.
I would, if you would have asked me 3 months ago, and I think most draft experts were saying this, they probably couldn't get maybe Zach Frazier in the second round, sit at pick 51. He might have been there. I would be shocked. Now, because
I had them get a tackle in the first round and Frazier in the second round.
Yeah, Mims.
And with all this,
people bring up Mims a lot.
This love fest. And just his, he has the juice now. He's moving up.
Yeah, you would think that it would be very, very surprising if Frazier is lasting anywhere beyond pick 40 overall or something like that.
Good for him. Good for him,
Good for him. And the reasons why, of course, a very intelligent player. I think people like that. Mike Tomlin likes that. You could even go to his last game as a Mountaineer. He avoided a 10-second runoff against Baylor. They had to come back and win. That would have been their 8th win of the year before the bowl game. That was a bad Baylor team. They were about to upset West Virginia and kind of ruin the good vibes going into the bowl game.
He saved that.
He saved it. Garrett Green led the comeback, but not everyone even knew this at the time. And Frazier says he did. If he would have been down and the stretcher comes out, there's a 10-second runoff, not much time there. He got himself out of there with a surgery that people didn't know at the time. That's a heads-up smart play. He's been an intelligent player for years. He's a leader. He was a leader of that team. He's obviously very athletic as a former wrestler as well. And I think another feather in his cap, and a center could probably speak to this more than me. Throughout his college career, he dealt with Jarrett Dagey, JT Daniels, and Garrett Green, mostly. These are three very different type of quarterbacks. We're talking about pocket passer, air raid quarterback, and a dual threat in Garrett Green. I don't know another center of any of the recent drafts that can say they dealt with all of that. And Zach Frazier was never a problem. He was the best player on the team every one of those years. So all of that helps him too. And that might, again, help somebody take a flyer on him. And it also might come down in your mind if you're sitting there thinking, okay, we really want Frazier. Everyone besides Powers Johnson and Frazier is lower, even on their board. Those are the two guys at center mostly. You know, do we love him enough that we're going to maybe leap a little bit? Like, would you rather take a risk and take him at pick 20 or not get him at all, if that's what you got to decide? Or would you rather take a risk of giving up a third-round pick to get Frazier or not get him at all? How much do they love him is what we're going to find out. Because
my thoughts are, Mike, is they're going to take the risk. I mean, what I've read and what I've found out is they like him that much, because we've known in the past they like Kenny, but there was still that inkling they were going to take what was that, Malik
Will,
other so but anyways, that's interesting. Thanks. I know
Shane,
this is a West Virginia
Shane,
show,
think they'll
but
take him in the first round. So Shane, you think they'll take him in the first round?
I think they're if Powers, it all has to do with that Oregon center. If he's on the board, they have some room to play, because he's definitely going to go after he's going to be the second center, and then well after that, Georgia has a center that's good, but he's late third round, maybe fourth round, But anyways, so
I mean, what I can say, if not the Steelers, for just West Virginia fans,
right?
The Dallas Cowboys have been talking to Frazier a lot. I was at the Combine. Frazier talked about a lot of meetings with the Cowboys. The San Francisco 49ers have been mocked to Frazier a lot. The Chicago Bears and Frazier have been paired a lot. Now, the Niners is interesting because Purdy's obviously immersed there, and they're a veteran team. There's actually a West Virginia alum already on there, that offensive line. That would be kind of like a West Virginia crew over there. That would be interesting. Outside of that, there are other teams that maybe have young QBs that are looking. Frazier's viewed as somebody that can start day one. He's the type of guy that people believe can start day one with either a veteran like Dak Prescott or a rookie QB. And the Cowboys might be thinking they got a lot of contract things going on. Okay, we have Dak now, but if we don't have Dak in a year because of this contract thing, we're going to need a veteran like Frazier to basically teach the offense to maybe a young QB. Frazier maybe could do that. You ask him. We asked him at the Combine, how quickly can you learn an NFL playbook? Could you even teach it to a rookie quarterback? And he said, give me a couple weeks, I'll have it down. I can teach anyone. Like, that's how confident he is. And this is a guy coming off of an injury. This is a guy coming off an injury. Yeah, like this is this is a guy coming off an injury too. So
what is his degree in?
I think sports management, but don't quote me on that. I believe sports management. I could be wrong. It's either that or history. That's most linemen are in that direction. But he's a very mature player. And I will say too, regardless of any of that, he's coming off of an injury and he's just so matter of fact. Like he doesn't say those things arrogantly. It's very matter of fact. Like, this is gonna happen. It is gonna happen. I'm gonna know this play. You can be shocked if you want, but I'm gonna have it down. So
that's the type of guy people want to follow. Yeah. And a locker room that lacks that is the Steelers locker room. So I'm really thinking that that's why they love this guy, because they know psychology. They know what they're missing. Anyways, enough about the Steelers. I'm back to West Virginia football. So what is your schedule like from from let's just say May 1st on, like when you're covering West Virginia football?
Okay. Well,
Does it
it's
slow
not.
down?
Yeah, well, it does slow down a little bit. Like it's not as obviously direct in terms of there's going to be a break between when there's press conferences,
Right.
when players are talking, all of that. They're going to go away. But the issue is once the portal closes up again, you're going to have a period, mostly in June, that is going to be high school recruiting like crazy. So there's going to be that's going to be a lot of action. High school kids committing, even though it's hard to take a commit seriously anymore. I mean, they're going to commit and then a month later they can decommit or they can commit again. It's hard, it's almost cynical covering high school recruiting these days, but June is going to be a lot of high school recruiting. May might slow down a little bit. July usually does slow down a little bit. And then you get into fall camp, you get into that period where it's like spring practice, but now at that end of fall for fall camp, they're talking about Penn State. They have a countdown clock. They're putting music into practice. They're maybe putting crowd noise in there, even though they're going to start the season at home. So they're getting more into preparing for the actual season. You're going to see more plays. Position battles are going to close up. Late July, early August, it'll really get serious again. Probably a little bit of a lull. I'm going to go on a vacation at the end of June. Didn't do it last year. I also do cover the basketball program as well. And last year, obviously, that created a lot of drama. So I was not off and didn't get a vacation. But this year, they're going to maybe have things figured out earlier. Fortunately, there won't be drama, and they have a new coach in place for that. So that'll kind of go on at the end of May as well. A lot more basketball recruiting there. And then, like last year, they had to re-recruit in July, but that normally will be a break for both programs. So it should slow down a little bit. A lot of high school recruiting goes on in the summer. And then when NFL training camps are starting, college fall camp is starting up as well, and then you get into the season as well. And there are expectations on this season. Last year, they were picked 14th. They won 9 games. It was a successful year. This year, you have an offensive lineman today who told me to my face their goal is to go to Dallas. If they're not in Dallas, the Big 12 championship game, they're upset. They think they failed. People aren't predicting that they're going to win the conference, but that's where their mindset is. They really feel like they have a crew that can get it done, and they have most of the key players that were contributors from last year's team, with the exception of Frazier and some veterans, Beanie Bishop for one on defense, are going to be back. They have most of the offense back. Most of the skill position weapons are coming back. Even some Aubrey Burks. Everybody and their brother thought he was leaving in the offseason. He's coming back. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, the team is kind of gearing up to make a run at this. It does lead you to maybe be disappointed, because I feel like the fans, if it's not 9 or 10 wins, it's going to be a big letdown. But this team feels like they could get to Dallas. And fortunately for them, to be honest, Oklahoma's gone. Texas is gone. In terms of winningest all-time program history-wise, it's West Virginia. They got most of the crew coming back, whereas other teams are trying to kind of fix things off of down years. I'm not necessarily saying right now in April I'm going to be picking them to do it, but they could. It wouldn't totally shock me. The window is there. The door is there this year with that crew coming back, and they're still young for years to come as well. And you win the Big 12. You're in the playoff now that it's expanded based on the rules. So there's an easier path for this team this year than there would have even been a year ago. And they know that, and that's why the goal and expectations are so high.
Now, the best thing for the Big 12 would be, a Utah, West Virginia, Oklahoma State making a deep run and making a splash. But, if you pick 5 teams from the Big 12 that, and put them in a hat, and you pull them out of the top 5 or 6 we picked yesterday, any one of those has a good shot of making it. But
yeah, sure. Yeah, it could always be Oklahoma State. Kansas State could do it again. I wouldn't be shocked if TCU reboots themselves. UCF's been sleeping since moving into the conference, but who knows? I don't think Cincinnati's going to be good. BYU maybe. Utah. I don't know about next year, but I think Utah's going to own the conference in the future. Like they're going to clip off conference titles like they did in the Pac-12. Was kind of underrated. So
who knew a few years ago that we'd be talking about Kansas having a chance to win the conference this year?
Well, sure.
They're so good.
And a couple years ago, they were kind of a surprise team as well. And they actually have most of their crew coming back when everyone thought that they were going to lose the quarterback and they were going to lose the crew. That's not the case. So Kansas could certainly surprise and get it done. Generally speaking, Oklahoma State always has that slow start to the year, and then Mike Gundy ends up winning 9 or 10 games. And you do that this year, you're probably winning the conference because, again, Oklahoma's gone out of there. And so
I just pray they don't lose to South Alabama. Luckily, they don't play them this year.
Yeah, like they had that bad loss last year, and that's one loss that West Virginia should have had back. West Virginia team feels like they should have won 10. They won 9.
Yeah, I agree.
They could have won 11. They blew a game to Oklahoma State at the end. Yeah, and losing to Oklahoma State, they allowed 150 rushing yards in the fourth quarter. You allow 100 instead of 150, or it might have been 149, and you probably win that game. You hold that lead. And then Houston, at the end of the game, if Garrett Green, let's be honest, he'll tell you this too. If he keeps his helmet on, as great as he played in that game, they're 15 yards further back. They don't have that penalty. You're never going to convince me they complete that Hail Mary that far back. And then West Virginia wins that game, and that's 2 more conference wins for 11 wins. They would have been vying for the playoff last year, and they certainly would have had a chance to win the conference last year, even if you lose the Oklahoma game on the road, which was really, really bad. So they feel like they actually left games on the table last year, and that's why they could be what they are maybe coming back. But I guess for the glass half full for Oklahoma State fans, even if you drop an out-of-conference like last year, they dropped that horrible game to a recently FCS team, even though now they're FBS, and they still got into the Big 12 championship game because it's not a conference loss. So, like, that is the glass half full if you're a West Virginia fan. You start off the season with Penn State at home, but that could be a loss. They're a great team. You do have Pitt in the brawl coming up. It'll be back in Pittsburgh. I don't think much of Pitt this year, and everyone they're losing, but it's a rivalry game. It's going to be on the road for you. You could lose it. The Mountaineers could start off the season 1-2, winning only the FCS game, beating only Albany, and they could still win the Big 12 because you could clip off the rest of the conference games.
So, Mike, I'm going to ask you one last question before we let you go, okay? And I want you to take off your journalist hat, okay? And then the hat's showing me where, I am a fan, okay? So, as a fan, would you rather have, okay, this is the world of rather have, West Virginia beat Penn State, but lose the conference, or lose to Penn State and win the Big 12 conference? Which would you rather have?
Quick clarifier. They lose to Penn State and don't win the conference, but they still have a good season, like they win 10 games, or no?
You can spin it however you want, but that's just basically what happens.
They lose to Penn State, but win the Big 12. Is that what you said?
Win the Big 12, and they're going to play in the conference championship, or they lose the that's
or they beat Penn State and they don't,
and then lose. They don't win they lose 2 games.
In all honesty, even as a fan perspective,
you're a fan now.
Even as a fan perspective, and I think the coaches even deep down would say this too.
Okay,
I think you will take the conference championship above all else for a couple reasons. Number one, you have a conference flags fly forever. You have a conference championship. You can put that banner up forever. That's 16 conference titles. You're changing the graphic. You're going in the facility, changing the number. You can celebrate that forever. That's a big deal. It's a major conference still. They still got the automatic bid, even though Oklahoma's gone. And if you win the Big 12, guys, you could, as I said, you could lose the rivalry games. If you win the Big 12, you're automatically in the playoff based on the current rules and how it'd be expanded. And you'd even get a relatively high seed because of how they're doing it. So know that to be the case. If you don't win the Big 12, even if you have a good season and you beat Penn State, the reason why I asked that, if you win 10 games and you don't win the Big 12 because Oklahoma State wins 10 as well and they beat you or they have a better year and you still beat Penn State, I will argue all day you should get in because beating Penn State will be a very quality win.
Yeah.
But
so those are the 2 scenarios. Yeah.
But you don't want to have to rely on people because we've seen last year with Florida State and other teams that even when they win the conference, they can get screwed. I don't want to have to rely on people voting me or arguing. Right. If I win the Big 12, I'm in. So I know that to be sure. I would take that all day as a fan, a coach, a player, or a media member. If you know you're in if you win the conference. Winning a conference is a big deal. You can celebrate it forever, and you can get in. And then once you're in, you let the cards fall where they may. You feel like you can beat anybody. So I would take that over anything else. And I also don't think Penn State and West Virginia is that much of a rivalry. I don't think fans will be
No.
that upset. It'll be a little
No.
different maybe if they lose the brawl. Like they want the brawl. That would be the series split. They won one, Pitt won one. I think they would rather. I think most West Virginia fans would rather lose to Penn State and beat Pitt than lose to Pitt and beat Penn State. Even though Penn State's a better team and that would be a bigger win to have, losing the brawl would really hurt. But overall of it, even if you lose the brawl, I think the best thing for you is to win the Big 12. Number one, because then you're in the then you win the conference and then you're in the playoff, no matter what you did in the rivalry games.
Hey, Mike, you did a great job answering my one pitcher in conversation, because usually you have to be a pitcher in the beer before you start talking this type of nonsense.
Yeah. I do need one. Actually, over somewhere. I think I might even have the NAL Country Roads Trust Lager that I could.
There you go.
Bring to the table next time. But yeah, so, it's way early, I guess, to be getting too hypothetical. But I always love hypotheticals.
Hey, I want to throw it out there because that's something that as a journalist, I wanted you to take that hat off and
it's hard.
Come at us as a fan. You did a great job. Thanks for shooting the bull with us and talking Mountaineers.
I want to show this here that Jackson Johnson's been out there hard at work while we've been here talking. He's posted every link that's possible for you, Mike.
Okay, I saw some of them there, man. Yes.
So Jackson, we appreciate you doing that. So everybody, be sure you follow Mike everywhere he is. Mike Ossie's great guy. Been a friend of this network, the Voice of College Football, for quite a while. He's been coming on with Mark Rogers. So appreciate you coming on with me tonight, Mike.
No problem, man.
You got anything special coming up? You got anything special coming up on your channel, on your Mike Ossie channel?
Yeah, so we have a lot going on, obviously, for the West Virginia coverage at WV Sports now, both football, basketball. We threw the baseball score, the baseball program as well, and everything going on there, even women's basketball recruiting now. And I have a personal podcast, Mic Drop, is with Believe, and then also available everywhere you get your podcasts. We're going to be talking a lot of Steelers draft coming up, even kind of the end of the Penguin season for hockey fans. Obviously, West Virginia, we mix in there too. So look for that as well. And I actually do have a show coming up next week with a friend and colleague of mine, Will Graves with the AP. We're going to kind of go through the Pittsburgh media circuit there and recap the Penguin season, talk about Steelers in the draft, maybe go to West Virginia. He's another WVU alum as well, by the way. So look for that on Mic Drop. And then, of course, all the West Virginia coverage there at WV Sports Now. But as you have down there in the graphic, here, at Mike Ossie 11 on X or on social. It's all uniform. You can find everything I link up there. But I enjoyed it, guys. Love talking to both of you. Let me know if you need me to jump back on or anything you guys got going on, Shane, Joey. So, or even if you need me to jump on your Steelers program there, Shane, let me know.
I'll tell you what, we just went from it used to be my buddy was a wrestler for a number of years, and he talked wrestling and Steelers. So Wednesdays were Steelers, Fridays, and screwed the algorithm. I finally talked them into breaking away and having a Steelers podcast. So we're 4 weeks in, and we get on with Steelers Australia, a guy named Mark.
Okay, and, interesting.
Yeah. So he's actually from Australia, became a fan when he was a young boy, and just talking to him is just strange. So I would love for Mark to come on your show to give. He's very knowledgeable for being.
That'll be interesting.
Not a native.
Sure. Yeah, if we can get the times right, if I don't have to record that at 4
No, he changed his job in his life so he could just be a Steelers fan.
That's
and
awesome.
It's 2 PM, he'll be on in the evening. So I'll throw him your way. He's a good dude. So
definitely that's very, very interesting. And I'm actually a wrestling fan as well, so we could even talk about that. But sure. And the Zach Frazier thing will tie in as a former wrestler. So that works for him with the Steelers too. But no problem. That's very, very interesting. But I enjoyed it, guys. Have a great night,
Mike. You too. Thank you. All right. Great night. So, guys, we appreciate everybody that was here tonight. Man, that was a great show. Mike's a great guy. I love him coming on. He's so knowledgeable. We just sit and talk. And, I just feel like I just want to sit back and listen, because I just want him to keep spitting out what he knows, because he's a really smart guy. Well, Shane, I guess our next show will be Monday night.
Yes, sir.
When we try out the AI and the Magic 8 Ball. That'll be a lot of fun. Man, we got all kinds of weird crap coming up, don't we?
We do.
Guys, y'all have a great night. We appreciate everybody coming out. We'll see you guys Monday night at 7 o'clock for AI Monday. Good night.